How ASAP Rocky spends his millions. ASAP Rocky has bolstered his wealth by doing more than just music. He has also made appearances in films such as Zoolander 2 and Dope. The rapper has also released his own clothing line and has collaborated with Raf Simons, a high-profile fashion designer. Considering all that ASAP Rocky has done, it should come as no surprise that he has a pretty impressive net worth. According to Celebrity Net Worth, the songwriter is worth $10 million. Today, we'll be talking about how the ASAP Rocky spent his million. After the release of Life, Love, ASAP Rocky went on tour with Drake, performing with Kendrick Lamar as an opening act. It was at this point that ASAP Rocky began to be truly successful. This brought him a ton of new fans and contributed to the success of Rocky's debut album, Long Live ASAP. This was a really successful album, hitting #1 on the Billboard 200, receiving critical acclaim, and eventually being certified double platinum. This set the stage for passing his longtime mentor ASAP Yams. This album symbolized Rocky's true arrival in the American mainstream. He then started working as a model for a number of high-profile fashion brands and designers such as Guess and Raf Simons. He also inked a deal with Under Armour that included his very own sneaker model, the SRLO Black. Although Rocky had always prided himself on his unique fashion sense, both in his interviews as well as his music, in fact, is a large part of his image and personal brand. It hasn't been until relatively recently that he has been accepted in the fashion world, a world that he helped to make cool for new generations. And it's worth pointing out that all of these fashion deals has been incredibly lucrative for ASAP Rocky. ASAP Rocky's life and career have certainly made ups and downs. From his early days in Harlem's homeless shelters, to chart-popping rapper and collaborator, to the darling of the fashion world, ASAP Rocky has always been ahead of the curve, looking for the next wave before it gets here. This is a large part of his success as a rapper and a businessman, staying 2 steps ahead. It has allowed his music to stay fresh, his name to be a constant presence in the headlines of fashion magazines, and it has earned him a ton of money. Thanks to the fame and money, Rocky has been living a great life and spending a lot of luxurious stuff. LA Starter House. As busy as Mr. Rocky is, he somehow dug up a time to buy a multi-million-dollar LA starter house, at least according to Mr. Stir, who pointed us to a newly constructed, boxy confections akin to so many other new homes in the WeHo Beverly Grove area. Yolanda did a little digging into her property records, and we discovered that the residence in question was last sold way back in April 2015 for $3,050,000 to something called Ricky Trust. It only took Yolanda a bit more research before we were able to consecutively link Mr. Rocky to both the house and the trust. We have heard that Mr. Rocky lets his older brother Ricky and his younger sister Erica Black stay at his home whenever they are in town, which is a pretty gosh darn swell of him. In addition to the living or family area with fireplace, there's a sunken conversations area next to the staircase that somehow reminds Yolanda of the legendary Cone of Silence. The formal dining table appears positively puny. The minimalist Italian kitchen has designer appliances and an olive green and blonde wood paint scheme that we somehow love. Going batty in our old age, perhaps? All of the 4,321 square foot house's 5 bedrooms are located upstairs. Upon reaching the top landing, those fortunate enough to be granted VIP access are greeted by an unusual open sky patio lounge with fireplace and some hanging plants. As expected, the gray and cream master suite is spare but does have plenty of space of art. Out that glass sliding door in the bedroom is a balcony that overlooks the snug backyard and some nearby power lines. Speaking of the backyard, it's definitely petite. Some rude folks may even dare to label it cramped. But the developers did manage to squeeze a zero-edge plunge pool and spa. Plus, there's a grass patch just big enough for Fido to take care of his business. The centrally located house is within walking distance to all sorts of fabulous restaurants and shops that includes Jar and Angelina Osteria. And of course, the world-famous Sunset Strip is an easy 10 minutes jaunt by car. Ferrari. Speaking of the backyard, it's definitely petite. Some rude folks may even dare to label it cramped, but the developers did manage to squeeze a zero-edge plunge pool and spa. Plus, there's a grass patch just big enough for Fido to take care of his business. The centrally located house is walking distance to all sorts of fabulous restaurants and shops that includes Jar and Angelina Osteria. And of course, the world's famous Sunset Strip is an easy 10 minutes jaunt by car. Lamborghini. Well, we got here a car from nostalgia. Well, I was kidding. This one's not a vintage car. This one's a 2013 second generation Lamborghini Gallardo, powered by 5.2-liter V10 engines that produces 552 horsepower of power and can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.7 seconds and a top speed of 201 miles per hour. And this Gallardo costs over $194,000. So this brings us to the conclusions of today's video. Let us know how you liked the video on the millions spent by ASAP Rocky in the comments below. Till then, hope to see you in another video.